Welcome back to Dr. Judi Online. Thank you for joining me for another segment of the reading of the P15 Pass Book, America's Passport for Unity. And we left off at Chapter 5, Politics. There are 15 P's in the P15 paradigm, and we're on number 5. The fifth P is politics. Here we discuss 3 topics that are central: voting/voting rights, political action committees, and daily living. As we are so painfully aware, many people were killed, threatened, and intimidated for us to have the right to vote. It is critical that each of us is registered and that each of us votes in each election. First, if you are not registered to vote, you may go to your local voter registration office and or www.morelovewithdrjudi.com and register to vote. If you have a criminal record and feel as if you cannot vote, contact your local NAACP and or SCLC and someone can assist you. You may also check with your elections commissioner to determine your state's laws and programs for restoring your voting rights. I am thankful for voting rights. As Judge Laura D. Blackburn, chairperson of Crisis Board of Directors, said, quote, "It has been a bloody trail to the ballot box," end quote. Despite increases in the number of black people registered to vote between 1962 and 1964, it was obvious that voter registration has been impeded and even defiled in the years since. Between pop quizzes, poll taxes, gerrymandering, named after Eldridge Gerry, black votes for sale, black apathy, and black Uncle Toms, the black vote has been compromised, diminished, and in recent years unappreciated by black people ourselves. As I express in my poem, "Angels have more than one face. God is above race and gender." A perfect example is Justice Clarence Thomas' 2013 vote to strike down part of the Voting Rights Act. As hard as black people fought for the right to vote, which was brilliantly depicted in Oprah Winfrey's 2015 movie Selma, Clarence Thomas, with his black self, voted to limit our rights and giving states more authority. This struggle is clearly not about black and white. It is about right and wrong, good and evil. Essentially, it is about justice and equality. This gives more power to each state, which goes back to subjectivity and historic racism, particularly in southern states. We see that leaving certain responsibility to certain states resulted in slavery not being abolished in Mississippi until 2013. In Texas, for example, you can use a concealed weapon identification card to vote, which many black and or poor people do not have, but cannot use other forms of identification. As a Christian, a woman, and a black person, I thank God for the privilege to vote. I am also deeply grateful for my foreparents, ancestors, past and current, leaders of the NAACP, SCLC, CORE, SNCC, MIA, PUSH, NAN, black churches, progressive politicians, and progressive black Greek letter organizations. I am thankful for Ida B. Wells and many women suffragists. At some points during the women's suffrage campaign, white supremacy was embraced, which helped white women, but impeded the progress of black voters. Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony worked on an 1867 campaign which had the slogan, "Women first, Negroes last." Someone asked at the time, who can hesitate when choosing between an educated women and ignorant Negroes? The right to vote and participation in local, state, federal, and international affairs is a universal desire. I pay homage to the late, great South African President Nelson Mandela, who was born into royalty, yet fought for democracy. In the Silver Anniversary Collection, Poetry for Peace, Power, and Love, I dedicated For Tata Mandela to President Mandela. A universal symbol of justice. Your patience and wisdom caused a bust in the entitlement wrapped in apartheid. The greed, the anger, the lust. Thank you, Tata, for trading your royal robe for justice to unfold. You rest now where past big books burn no longer. For that, Tata, the whole world is stronger. We will move forward with unity, order, faith, and peace. The More Love movement is a symbolic wreath on the tomb of a giant who revived our hope and inspired change. We will save souls worldwide and help to rearrange the unrest, prepare for the tests, and do our best to continue your legacy of justice. Rest in peace, Tata Mandela. From the Silver Anniversary Collection, Poetry for Peace, Power, and Love. Many of you have never been hungry, but have been fighting to help the hungry because you understand that exercising voting rights is a desire which begins long before any particular election. If you think of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, some Americans are doing well just putting on their clothes in the morning. Some are working on acquiring base needs such as food, clean water, shelter, safety, and security. Voting is further along on the scale of self-actualization. If a parent cannot feed his children or get to the bus stop or is homeless, he may not even know where to vote or when to vote. It may not even be a concern of his. America is a lot better because of those of you who work tirelessly in the community. If you do something to help one person, one family, move up that hierarchy and on to self-actualization, it would make the world a better, more just place. What we do and do not do when the polls are closed is of utmost importance. Between elections, we have work to do. A critical need of focus regarding politics is the need to establish and support PACs to support trustworthy, progressive politicians, as opposed to politicians who overlook fraud and injustices and can pay the most for personal favors and personal interests, and are politicians who are only accessible and responsive during their own campaign season. We cannot sell the very votes that so many of our ancestors died for us to have the right to have and exercise. A major area where politics is important is in our daily lives. A lot of life's moments and transactions are very subjective. If you, black or white, have influence in housing, healthcare, the judicial system, education, college admissions, human resources / human capital, customer care, the courts, a jury, journalism, or marketing, you can make a difference. Be fair. Be kind. Treat the person the way you want someone to treat you or your child. My senior year in high school, I was humbled and to have been named most ambitious, most likely to succeed, and most popular. Ran uncontested for student body president and was promoted to the battalion commander of the Marine Corps Junior ROTC. When I was elected homecoming queen by my peers, racism reared its ugly head. Our school was named High School of the Year, and since the school was integrated, a black woman could not possibly be the queen all year. I received the most votes, which was a surprise. I did not learn until my father, who escorted me, and I were in the middle of a football field at halftime. After the Christmas holiday, we had a second election for homecoming queen. I was not dethroned. I simply had to share my title for the rest of the year with my beautiful white classmate and friend. At the time, I was delighted and thought nothing of it. As a social scientist nearly 30 years later, I see it for what it is. If you are a person of influence, especially over young people, exercise unity, faith, order, justice, peace, and equality. Some instances of racism are blatant, whereas others are subtle and simple. It was blatant racism when a gunman killed 9 innocent people at a Bible study in South Carolina because they were black. When, as President Obama said, you decide to call Johnny back rather than Jamal after the job interview, subtle racism comes to view. At a memorial service for the Charleston Nine at Mount Zion AME Church, a city councilwoman delivered a powerful speech and said, when you see a police officer, say hello or nod your head. Such wisdom. Try it. It works at the market, post office, with police and civilians. I'm not suggesting that we go around stepping and fetching or skinning and grinning. But peace, harmony, and a smile do not cost a thing. We are called to return no person evil for evil. What we put out into the universe is what comes back to us individually and collectively. Smile is one of the 75 poems included in the Silver Anniversary Collection, Poetry for Peace, Power, and Love. Let's face it, there's a lot of racism, classism, homophobia, xenophobia, ageism, and sexism in the world. We can do better. And as we move to our sixth P, let me say politics is not about nickels, money, numbers, large crowds, and noise, the applause. Politics should be about people. So I encourage you, friends, as you listen to this chapter 5 on politics, that you register to vote. And if you're already registered to vote, that you'll get someone in your family or someone on your street registered to vote. And during this season, if it's a vote by mail or whatever it is, you all watch each other's mailboxes. Make sure no one tampers with the mail. Every vote counts. Not only in the forthcoming presidential election, but also in the local elections. It's important to vote because some of the laws in terms of police management, police training, educative opportunities, some of the local people, city council, state officers, some of those elections are very critical. So let's make sure we vote in every election. If you're not registered to vote, please register. If you have a felony, please get with somebody with the NAACP, SCLC, your church, the Voters Commission, and see if you have to get your record expunged, whatever you have to do to try to make sure you get registered to vote. Leave me a note in the comments if you have any suggestions on voter registration campaigns or ideas that you have, because every vote counts. Politics is the P in the P15 paradigm that is critical in terms of voting. So let's get registered to vote. That's an action we can take. Until next time, the Lord bless you and keep you, make his face shine upon you, be gracious unto you, and give you peace, power, and love. More love. Boost.